So if you do have questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. Myself and Giselle, my team member, will be monitoring the chat, and we'll have time for questions and answers at the end of after the presentation. And for those of you I haven't met, I'm Juliet Schindler. I use she, her pronouns, and I serve as Executive Director of Public Affairs and Strategic Partnerships at College Success Foundation and oversee our passport work. And it's my honor to welcome you to today's WPN webinar, High School to Post-Secondary Transition Supports for Apprenticeships. And I hope you're excited, like I am, to learn more about this world of apprenticeships in Washington State and the opportunities that are available to the passport eligible students that we serve. Our speaker today is Veronica Escalante. Veronica currently serves as the Apprenticeship Outreach Navigator for ANEW. And ANEW stands for Apprenticeship Non-Traditional Employment for Women, but as that name can be a bit misleading, the focus of ANEW's leadership is on their mission, which is building people, building communities. Veronica was born and raised in Arizona and moved to Washington 10 years ago. Veronica has over a decade of experience working in the nonprofit field. Prior to joining ANEW, she served as a program manager at a local shelter where she did case management and outreach programs for young adults experiencing homelessness. Welcome, Veronica.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to start sharing my screen. If you're not able to see, please let me know. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I am here to talk about some pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. Hopefully kind of just give a general background about it. And then kind of what we at ANEW do from the passport to apprenticeship program. So just a little bit of history really quick before we start about ANEW. ANEW began in the 1980s by women to help women and historically marginalized community members to learn about construction trades. We have graduated over 3,500 students to date. Over 8 different programs have spanned training to support, from training to support services, career exploration. And right now we do a lot with equity, diversity, and inclusion in the construction field. We work within cities, states, and other community-based organizations, unions, non-union contractors, and we're always trying to expand. And this is just a picture in the background of one of our graduating classes. We did have a passport student in this graduating class, which is exciting. Some definitions to know before we start. An apprentice is an individual who is a paid employee who's participating in a structured on-the-job learning to prepare for a successful career. Apprentices earn a progressive wage as their skills and productivity increase. We have a registered apprenticeship program. You'll also see that as an RAP. And that is a career pathway where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce, and that's an apprentice will be in a registered apprenticeship program. And they are overseen by the U.S. Department of Labor or specifically by the state that they are in. And then we have a journey worker or mentor, and that is an experienced worker who has attained a mastery level of skill. And this term is used when describing the person that the apprentice is learning from. And then another thing that we do mention a lot is supplemental education. And this is the additional education that an apprentice will learn outside of the on-the-job learning. And it could be in a classroom, it could be put on by unions, it could be put on by community colleges. It just depends on the specific item that they're learning that day. So what is a pre-apprenticeship? A pre-apprenticeship is a program or set of services designed to prepare individuals to enter and succeed in a registered apprenticeship program. And also they could just take away from a pre-apprenticeship skills to get into the industry itself. It doesn't have to be specifically for an apprenticeship. Pre-apprenticeships may last a few weeks to a few months, kind of depending on the pre-apprenticeship itself. They are free, and you may or may not get wages or a stipend while attending the program. It just depends. Pre-apprenticeships use an approved curriculum based on industry standards and approved by regional apprenticeship program partners. And then some pre-apprenticeships have agreements with sponsors that allow the program participants to enter directly into a registered apprenticeship program when they finished a pre-apprenticeship program. And then when should a pre-apprenticeship be completed? A pre-apprenticeship is an introduction to multiple apprenticeships. No previous experience is needed when applying for a pre-apprenticeship. A good time is also if you're still unsure about if you want to pursue a career in a specific apprenticeship. It's a great way to get a feel for the job, see what it would be like, what your day-to-day would be. When a pre-apprenticeship is completed, the applicant may walk away with certifications that make them more marketable to employers. And then some pre-apprenticeships also provide wraparound services or can provide referrals to help participants complete the program. So at ANU, we do have a pre-apprenticeship and we do provide some wraparound services. We have access to help with like food, rental assistance, work clothes, things like that. Here are just a couple of examples of pre-apprenticeships that are available. So we do have a news in the middle, and we at ANU offer pre-apprenticeships for one specifically for females or those who identify as female. And then we have one that is co-ed. There's also Computing for All, which does software and IT, and we have them on here because some of these also have boot camps and things like that for individuals who are under 18. So if you're working with someone who's under 18, there may still be a possibility to get them into a boot camp or a pre-apprenticeship even before they turn 18. And so Computing for All does that, as well as the Manufacturing Academy. They do start their pre-apprenticeship at 16. And I know for the Manufacturing Academy, you don't need to have your GED or high school diploma completed while you are attending their pre-apprenticeship. Some others that are currently available: healthcare, and then another IT program through TLG. And TLG does also, a lot of them partner with companies that are already ready to hire applicants out of their pre-apprenticeships and apprenticeships. Another one is Youth Build. And if you're in King County, and I know there's also one out of the Spokane area, Youth Build here in King County works with youth care to help applicants while they're in the program, help with housing and other case management programs and things like that. And this one for Youth Build is specifically for youth 18 to 24. What is the difference between an apprenticeship and an internship? So a registered apprenticeship and internships both have entry-level experience in a career. The difference is that a registered pre-apprenticeship pays you while you learn the skill, versus an internship that gives you just a chance to learn before you earn. Another difference is the length between the programs. Internships can be between 3 to 6 months. An apprenticeship is usually 1 to 5 years, with all of that training being paid. And then when you finish an apprenticeship, you do walk away with a recognized certification for the training you've completed. What is an apprenticeship? So an apprenticeship is an industry-driven, high-quality career pathway where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce. Individuals can obtain paid work experience, classroom instruction, mentorship, and a portable credential once they're completed. An apprenticeship utilizes the earn while you learn model. An apprentice will get paid to learn a trade. They will work under the supervision of an experienced trade person to gain expertise. And then an apprentice learns on the job, hands-on skills while working, and they also will get that classroom education. So why an apprenticeship? In Washington, the average starting wage for an apprentice is $22.43 an hour. An apprentice's salary will increase depending on the number of hours that's completed, and it also just depends on the field. The average journey level wage once an apprenticeship is completed is $38.39 an hour. The training period is anywhere between 2 to 4 years. And that just depends because you are working hours. So sometimes, you're working 40 hours, maybe you work more, maybe you work less. So it just depends. Some examples on here are like a carpenter, a hairdresser. Apprenticeships are available in over 170 industries, including aerospace, fashion, broadcast media, and finance. Once completed, you will be earning a livable wage. You will have no educational debt. And some of them you may also receive college credit. So here are some of the pathways to an apprenticeship. This is a very wordy slide, but that's just because getting into an apprenticeship can be confusing. So you will need to apply for an apprenticeship. And so there's a couple of different ways. A direct entry is you apply directly to the apprenticeship itself. So if you wanted to do carpentry, you apply to their union, and you do like an interview process and things like that, but you apply directly to them. You will always need to look to see what are the qualifications. A lot of them will ask for like driver's license. If you're doing healthcare, you need to turn in vaccinations. Sometimes you need to submit a math or English test. And so all of that needs to be completed as you're applying through direct entry. Preferred entry is for candidates from specific training programs. And this would include like a pre-apprenticeships. And so you've already obtained certain qualifications that the apprenticeship is looking for. And sometimes it could be that you're like a veteran, or something like that. And then employer select is when you actually find employment first, and then through your employer, you're placed into an apprenticeship. And so some of that could be, an example of that is the Aerospace Joint Apprenticeship Committee. Another example is healthcare. Healthcare may help you, may have you find a job at a clinic first, and then you start applying for apprenticeships once you've gotten that position. Apprenticeships do have flexibility when choosing apprenticeships, and they do use a couple of different ways. First come, first serve. And sometimes it's rank based on testing that they're asking you to submit. Sometimes it's just random selection, and then selection from current employers and things like that. But a lot of them will have an interview process where you do need to go in, especially if you're doing it in construction through a union. And then once you've applied and you've done your interview, they give you a number so you know where you are at, and they'll let you know, we had 200 people apply. We're actually only taking 20. This time around, your ranking was 33. So hopefully next year when we're doing it, you will be able to move up. And that's something also to keep in mind when we are applying for an apprenticeship, is you do need to check and see when they are accepting apprentices. For some of them, they only do it twice a year. And so if you miss maybe in spring, you have to wait all the way until fall. So that's just something to keep in mind. This next slide is to show you how to actually search for an apprenticeship on LNI. And this would be the first screen that shows up, and you would note that you want to find an apprenticeship program. I recommend it if you don't know where you want to start, to just look by what's in your actual county, and it will show you what sectors are there, and then it'll confirm that it's in yours. But you would place right here, you can check off all the counties that you want, or you can also search by occupation. And then this is step 2. So here you have all of the program names. These are just a couple that would come up under A. It has the actual occupation because some apprenticeships will have multiple occupations under the same program name. So you want to make sure you're clicking on the right one and you're clicking on the right program ID and then making sure that it is in the county. And then once you find the program that you want, you can click on it. You can select the occupation here, just because I said that a couple of them will have multiple occupations, and it will tell you the pay for once you journey out, as well as how long it will take you to complete the program. And it will have a list of program standards and the minimum qualifications needed to actually apply for this. It will also direct you to their website so you can look up, anything else, if there's a contact or anything like that. And then it'll also have the location. This one, since it's it's the Boilermakers Union, it'll have the union building. It can be very overwhelming to look up these programs just because it's not very user friendly, especially if you're doing it with a young adult. Just because it's a lot of information. And then some frequently asked questions that we get is, how does the pay work? And so the work for an apprentice goes off of how many hours have been completed. So typically 50 to 70%. For every 1,000 hours or 6 months, you get a wage increase, and it's typically 5 to 10%. And then you will continue to get an increase until you've completed the program, at which time you will be making the journey workers pay. We kind of touched on this about college credit. Some registered apprenticeship programs may have supplemental classwork that is offered through technical colleges, and you receive credit for those classes that can then be put towards a degree at a later time, or, if you want to do it at the same time. And then what happens when you've completed the apprenticeship? Upon completing an apprenticeship, the worker will receive an apprenticeship completion certificate that is recognized nationwide. Some of them are even recognized internationally, like a couple of the unions are international, and so you might even be able to work internationally with your certificate. This certificate is one of the oldest, most basic, and most highly portable industry credentials. So yeah, that's kind of some frequently asked questions. And then specifically for the Passport to Apprenticeship program, the program objectives are: we are designed to remove barriers for youth and young adults ages 13 to 21 who have experienced foster care or unaccompanied homelessness. This program supports those interested in enrolling or who are enrolled in a state registered apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship. The eligibility: you must be between the ages of 13 to 21, enrolled or plan to enroll in a pre-apprenticeship or apprenticeship program by your 22nd birthday, and then a Washington state resident, and have experienced foster care after the age of 13 or experienced unaccompanied homelessness within the prior academic year. Some examples of homelessness, since we don't use like HUD's definition, you could be staying in a hotel or motel, staying in a shelter or temporary housing program, couch surfing, sleeping in a car, in a group home. All of those count. And then kind of what the process looks on our end. You can scan the code on the screen, and it will take you to our website that has our eligibility form. Once the eligibility form is completed, we are notified and we do reach out to the applicant. We do a career exploration call with them where we just kind of discuss what they are hoping to do in the future, kind of give them examples of the programs that are out there for them. We will, once all the enrollment paperwork is completed, we do an individualized employment plan. And that's just kind of where we break down all of the steps that they will need to get into an actual apprenticeship program, into smaller steps, so we can make sure whether that's getting them into a driver's school, helping them find a program to finish GED classes, or a high school diploma. We've connected them, since we don't specifically do housing, we've connected them to other resources that can help them with like housing. Um, we've connected clients with like food banks, things of that nature. And then once they've completed all the pre-requirements, we do help them either apply for a pre-apprenticeship or an apprenticeship. And since we are able to provide services, um, well, it's up to 26, but I do believe that might be changing in the future. Oh, it does allow us to work with them while they're completing the apprenticeship itself. And then kind of just to review what the passport to apprenticeship program's role is. The apprenticeship navigator works with a participant to remove the barriers, which we've kind of gone over, which is helping them set up transportation by providing like bus passes, enrolling them in driver's ed class, setting up Ubers. We connect past participants to GED or high school programs. We've referred to other organizations for housing, mental health, help with childcare, help participants find employment while applying to an apprenticeship program. And that's really important because, like I said, sometimes the apprenticeship program only enrolls once or twice a year. And if you've missed that date, you need to wait a whole year. And so what we do help is, maybe if a client wants to do plumbing, we might help them find a job that's in that field so they are still gaining experience while they're waiting to apply. We connect participants to the apprenticeship program and help them meet all the requirements. We are not experts on all of the apprenticeship programs. Like I said, there's 170 of them, but we will connect them with the program manager so that the clients can meet with them, learn more, ask any questions that they need, that they may have, so that we can make sure that the client is applying to a program that's specifically exactly what they want. And then we do continue to provide support while the participant completes the apprenticeship. And that could be what we've had in the past, is like someone who's doing a pre-apprenticeship, maybe they have to cut down on their hours at work and they need help with rent to make sure that they can complete the pre-apprenticeship program but still stay housed. And so we've helped with things like that in the past. Some common barriers for the passport to apprenticeship program, like we said, transportation. A lot of these apprenticeships are not located near bus stops, or if a client lives in a rural area, it's just not easy to get them to the apprenticeship using bus systems, or other transportation. Um, some of the apprenticeships do require a driver's license. So making sure that the client's able to get into driver's ed or adult driving classes. And that can be a barrier just because it can be expensive for the client to pay for. And then apprenticeships may require also that clients have reliable transportation. So they may need a vehicle of their own. And that can also be a barrier that we've run into in the past. Housing is not provided during an apprenticeship, which can also be a barrier. If you're going to a university or some community colleges, housing kind of is part of that experience, and that can be a barrier for passport to apprenticeship program. Or if the participant themselves just do not live near an apprenticeship site, we have to have that conversation about what it would look like to relocate. And then another barrier is just entry into the program. And that's just because apprenticeship programs have limited entry. Participants may need to wait long periods of time before an opening to the program becomes available. And then also that they're just competing against other individuals who have more experience in the field, or something like that. And for number two, waiting for an opening, we've had this as a barrier for cosmetology because it's usually you have to find employment through a salon. And so salons can only take on a certain amount of apprentices. They usually only take 1 to 2. So you do need to wait until that program, like that apprentice has completed their program before you can apply. And so that's been just something that we've run into with clients is it can be difficult for them to get into the program itself. And then ways to support the program. Um, just help us identify interested students, connect them with us, especially since the demographic, or sorry, this program does require specific uh things. You have to have experience foster care or experience unaccompanied homelessness, and then attend events put on by a new or other apprenticeship programs to stay educated. There is every year apprenticeship week, and during those weeks a lot of the apprenticeships will hold meetings for the public, so you can kind of come in, see what it would look like. I know in the past they've actually opened up their space where you could go in and tour it, so you could see what it would look like to attend. And those are also good to take students to if you have someone who might be interested in it. And then just collaborate efforts for non-traditional career paths. We are always looking for ways to help students get into the careers that they're hoping to get into. Um, and then this is the Passport to Apprenticeship team. We have Dee Jackson, who is our program director of programs. And quite a few of you probably may know Hallie Schreiber. She's been in the role for 2 years. And then I joined anew in November. I didn't really use all the time, but does anyone have any questions? Because I do know that apprenticeships can be confusing, and I'm happy to share or answer any questions that you may have.
So we do have a question about if the Passport to Your Apprenticeship funding will cover expenses related to pre-apprenticeships.
Yes. And so that also just depends on what the pre-apprenticeship is. But yeah, we're able to connect clients to get, if they're doing like a construction one, we can help them get the clothes, work boots, work hats, like any other PPE that they may need. But yeah, we're able to help with all of that, as well as sometimes the pre-apprenticeship itself provide some of the supplies that the client may need.
Jonathan, you had your hand up a second ago. Do you still have a question?
Yeah. I was wondering when the apprenticeship week, when is that?
Um, I want to say last year it was in November, but I want to say at the beginning of May, they're starting this year with a pre-apprenticeship week, and I'm happy to send out that information to the Washington Passport Network to be sent out. But yeah, you can also always check. Sometimes on their website, they will have days when they are opening like facilities up to the public, so you can come in and see. Because I toured like the plumbers union ones, and it was like amazing the setup that they had. They have like glass walls, so you could see the plumbing behind it, so you could see like, oh, where the clog is, how you would fix it. Underneath their floors they had a bunch of the pipes, so you could see how it worked. So they have really amazing setups, so if you're ever able to go in and view them, I would highly recommend it. They had kind of like a whole grocery store setup, like a freezer section, so you could see like how you would go in to like work on it. So they have really good like classroom setups.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll ask a question, Veronica, and I'm sorry if I missed this, but is there like one clear difference that defines a pre and a regular apprenticeship? Is it payment, or what is the main distinction?
So a pre-apprenticeship is going to be much shorter than an actual apprenticeship, because an apprenticeship will be anywhere from like 1 to 5 years versus a pre-apprenticeship that will be anywhere from a couple weeks, maybe to a couple months. And so usually a pre-apprenticeship will also cover more topics. So if you're doing a construction pre-apprenticeship, it will cover like plumbing, electrician, a laborer, like a cement mason. So you can kind of narrow down the field. And then when you apply to an apprenticeship from construction, we're using that just because it's the easiest. You would then apply directly to the laborers union, electrician. So yeah, usually a pre-apprenticeship just covers more topics to help you narrow it down. So when you do apply, you are applying to a specific apprenticeship. And they are just different because we do have like multiple clients right now that are doing like healthcare. Healthcare has also started to widen what they're doing. Like they're doing right now, a peer support one recently opened up. We have some clients that are doing like a nursing assistant and things like that. And so during those, they do have classroom times, and then they'll also have labs that they have to complete before they get their certification at the end. And a lot of the times, like pre-apprenticeship programs will also help you find that employment. Not just us, but we work with them to help that student find employment once they've completed.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah.
And did you speak to the how much it's grown in recent years? It seems like it's become much more of a thing you hear about, and people are starting to, I don't know, see it more and more as an option. But
Yeah, it is growing quite a bit. And I know a lot of like the high schools are having more career days, or versus just like college nights, because we have attended a lot of nights where you have apprenticeships alongside the colleges, which is great to see. And I know that we've been brought in by some of the guidance counselors to do presentations during like lunches and things like that.
and do you feel like that has resulted though in like a jump in the actual utilization of the apprenticeship programs?
I don't want to speak to that because I've only been here a couple months. Well, I guess we're going on about 4 months. But I know that we've recently had an increase in clients that have come asking about it. And I mean, that could just be, we do currently now have someone who's specifically doing outreach. And so I am doing more specific outreach at transitional living programs for people that have experienced homelessness and are now somewhat stably housed to get a career kind of under the belt before they're out on their own. So we are trying to be more specific about the outreach that we're completing. So we've done some drop-in centers at shelters. And then, yes, we are reaching out more to schools, counselors to just provide them more information, because I think apprenticeships are confusing. And sometimes like I've spoken to like pre-apprenticeships and people are like, oh, so they don't actually get a job for completing this work. I'm like, well, no, but it is a really good step, just because applying for apprenticeships can be very competitive. So everything you can do helps, as well as pre-apprenticeships have connections with employers, so that if you don't make the apprenticeship this first time around, they have maybe a connection with maybe a non-union job, or there's an opening. What we've had is some clients who are doing cosmetology who are waiting for that to open up. They'll work the front desk or something like that, that's still in the field while they're waiting to enter an apprenticeship.
Great, thank you. Jonathan, please go ahead.
Yeah, a quick question. So I have some students that are like, they want to do an apprenticeship, but I have noticed that it is pretty competitive, especially like for electricians and all that. And so on that website you showed us, is there a list of like pre-apprenticeships too that they can look at and kind of see the options too?
Yes, so on the LNI's website and on those slides, I'm assuming they'll probably get sent out, is another code, a QR code that you can scan that will take you right to the LNI website. And it does have a list on the side that shows a list of pre-apprenticeships in the area. And there are a couple, depending what area you are in Washington, that are specifically for youth 18 to 24, that give a little bit more leeway than maybe some through the union, and things like that. So
Okay.
yeah, there is a whole list of pre-apprenticeships on there.
Cool. Thank you.
On that note, as long as we have your permission, Veronica, we will send out the slides. And we'll also be sharing out the recording, and the actual recording itself. You'll be able to find on our WPN website under resources. Give us a couple days on that, as well as on WPN YouTube channel. So also feel free to tell your colleagues, friends, others who might be interested but weren't able to make it today.
Yeah, and we're always open to answering any questions that you may have, having any meetings that you may like with you and the client to kind of go over any process, like what it looks like to do a pre-apprenticeship versus an apprenticeship. And if you are near Tukwila, where NU is based out of, we've had some clients kind of come in and tour the space to look at what our pre-apprenticeship looks like, what they go through. Because for our specific like pre-apprenticeship for construction, they do like a workout to begin the day to make sure that you're going to be able to complete. Because for some of the constructions, they ask that, you're able to carry a certain amount of rebar, that you can, lift a certain amount. And so just making sure that that is something that the client is able to do at the end of the pre-apprenticeship.
Seems like an advantage of some of these, not just sitting in a computer all day. Interactive. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, there's a few more questions that I didn't see embedded in Q&A. So can the Washington College grant also be used to support training or classroom expenses that are not covered by Passport?
Usually anything once you're in an apprenticeship is covered by whoever you're doing the apprenticeship through. But yeah, our program can cover any of those additional expenses that might come up. But yeah, usually it's put on the employer to help cover any of those supplemental educational items. But we have maybe helped cover, I'm using construction just because so many apprenticeships are construction, but like if there's certain tools that a student or a participant needs, we've helped cover like those tools that they may need, and things like that. So yeah, we are able to cover. Sorry, a lot of words say yes.
Okay, and kind of similar. Did you mention earlier some of pre-apprenticeship programs offer wraparound services like rental assistance? And can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So just some of them will have, like for ANU, we have ARC, which helps cover some of those costs. They're able to give out gas cards, food cards, things like that, just to make sure that the students have everything they need to hopefully be successful in the pre-apprenticeship program, because we do understand that a lot of these, you're taking time away from your normal job to complete these apprenticeships. So we do want to make sure that you have all of the resources available to get you through the pre-apprenticeship and hopefully into an apprenticeship. But yeah, they do have connections with like childcare to help you find a place to place your child. If you need support in paying for that, things of that nature. But yeah, for our students that have been in pre-apprenticeship, we've had some students that lived in rural areas and were just not able to get to a pre-apprenticeship, like public transportation was not running to get them there at 7 a.m. So we helped cover like an Uber to get them to the classes, and things like that. So we do our best to make sure that the students are able to succeed once we do find the program that they are interested in.
That's great. And then Laura asked if you had mentioned one of the required requirements of the program is demonstrating Washington residency. What definition of residency do you use?
I'm going to be honest with you, we haven't really had this come up too much because usually they're already here in Washington, which makes them a resident. So yeah, that might be something that I do need to clarify, and I'm happy to get back to you all.
And do you plan to do some apprenticeships in Snohomish?
Anu used to do apprenticeships in Snohomish County, and I think we had one a couple months back. So I would say yes. And if not, please reach out. I'm also able to help you connect with someone who may be doing it. Maybe it's not through Anu, but we can help you find an apprenticeship or pre-apprenticeship in Snohomish.
And that actually leads to another question for me. Are there other organizations like Anu that do similar functions?
So yes and no. So you have like Youth Build that is partnering with Youth Care to provide like the housing resources and case management. So the support is just different because we also then step in and will help Youth Care and Youth Build to kind of cover maybe things that they don't cover that we're able to help the client with. So a lot of it is just building those partnerships. And so that is something also that we are working on as part of the Passport to Apprenticeship program, is reaching out to all of these apprenticeships and letting them know like, hey, if you have a client that, you know, fits these qualifications and may need that additional support that you're not able to offer, please reach out to us. We're happy to step in and help with that, just because a lot of people just don't know about the Passport to Apprenticeship program, even apprenticeships themselves. So we are trying to partner with apprenticeships as well, just letting them know like, hey, we're here. We are happy to step in and help as much as we can. So yeah, each program is different, and it just depends because some of them are working with other nonprofits themselves, but just we're always happy to partner. So if you have anyone, please let us know. We're always happy to reach out to talk about the program and see how we can partner.
Wonderful. Well, not seeing any other further questions at this time. We'll follow up, like I said, with the slide deck, and we can shoot, you know, the answer to the residency question out with that when you get a chance to clarify that, Veronica. And I just want to thank you for taking your time to do this, Veronica, and share it on behalf of, you know, the CSF team and I think I speak for broader WPN. It's just really important since, you know, about 5 years ago, the statute changed to include apprenticeships and then it created the Passport to Careers program rather than just the college pathway. It's just so important to really share out this information and grow our understanding about this important pathway that you guys are working so hard on. And so it's been really nice to learn more and end our year of webinars with this information. So thank you for your work. Thank you for your time. Everyone now knows where to reach you. And yeah, and for someone who's only been a few months in, you certainly have learned a lot to share. So thanks so much, Veronica.
Yeah, and if any questions pop up later, please feel free to reach out. I'm happy to answer any and all of them.
Wonderful. And Giselle, did you, if you haven't, could you drop the link to the survey questions? Looks like it's in there.
Right. Yep, I just added it in there.
And yeah, if everyone wouldn't mind just taking a minute to fill out the survey, we do this with every webinar so we can keep working on getting the best content to you possible. And with that, I'll stop recording and I'll give you back 11 minutes to hopefully get outside and get some sunshine and enjoy your Wednesday afternoon. So thank you, everyone, and take care.
Thank you.